I thought I had lost you forever.
In the heart of Los Angeles, inside one of the city's most exclusive restaurants, a woman walks through the glass doors, her laughter cutting through the soft murmur of expensive conversations and clinking champagne glasses. Her name is Zara Bennett, and she has no idea that someone is watching her. Someone who knows the curve of her smile, the way she tilts her head when she laughs, the exact shade of warmth in her brown eyes. From the VIP section, elevated above the main dining room, a man sits frozen. His name is Jin-Woo Park, and to most people in Los Angeles he's known by another name entirely. The Architect. One of the most feared men in the Korean underworld. A man who controls millions, commands loyalty through respect and calculated intimidation. A man who hasn't felt fear in over a decade. But right now, watching Zara settle into her seat across the restaurant, his heart stops. It's been 15 years. 15 years since he last saw her face, heard her voice, felt what it was like to be seen as more than a weapon or an asset. And now here she is, radiant in a burgundy dress, surrounded by friends, celebrating something he knows nothing about. She's laughing at something her companion said, completely unaware that the boy she once knew, the boy she once loved, is watching her from the shadows of his carefully constructed empire. For the first time in 10 years, Jin-Woo Park, the cold, calculated crime boss who's built fortunes on reading people and predicting their moves, feels something he thought he'd buried in the rubble of his past. Longing. Raw, aching longing that twists in his chest like a knife. She has no idea the boy she once knew has become someone dangerous. But tonight, their worlds are about to collide again. Let me take you back. Let me tell you about Zara Bennett. At 33 years old, Zara has built exactly the life she dreamed of as a girl growing up in Seattle. She's a civil rights attorney, and not just any attorney. She's brilliant, relentless, the kind of lawyer that defense teams dread seeing walk into a courtroom. Her colleagues call her fierce. Her opponents call her uncompromising. Her clients call her a savior. She's dedicated her entire adult life to fighting injustice, to standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. It's not just a career for Zara. It's a calling born from years of watching inequality play out in her own neighborhood, in her own schools, in the faces of people she loved who never got the justice they deserved. She grew up in Seattle, the daughter of Robert Bennett, a retired police detective, and Maya Bennett, a social worker who passed away when Zara was in college. From her father she learned how the system worked. From her mother she learned how the system failed. And Zara made it her mission to be the bridge between those two truths. She came to Los Angeles for law school at UCLA and never looked back. The city adopted her and she adopted it right back. She's carved out a name for herself here, won cases that other attorneys wouldn't touch, taken on corrupt institutions with nothing but her intelligence and her unwavering principles. Tonight is supposed to be a celebration. Zara just won a major case against the LAPD, exposing a corruption ring that had been operating for years. 3 officers are facing federal charges. 17 wrongful convictions are being overturned. It's the kind of victory that makes the long hours, the threats, the exhaustion all worth it. Her best friend Imani Rodriguez sits across from her, holding up a glass of wine. Imani is everything Zara isn't, loud where Zara is measured, impulsive where Zara is strategic, but they balance each other perfectly. Imani's been Zara's anchor since they met in law school, the person who reminds her that life exists outside of case files and courtrooms. And lately, Imani's been on a mission to get Zara back into the dating world. Zara's been single for 2 years now, ever since her relationship with Marcus, a fellow attorney, fell apart. It wasn't dramatic. It was worse than dramatic. It was slow and painful, the kind of ending where you realize you're with someone because it's comfortable, not because it's right. Marcus wanted someone who would prioritize partnership over principles. Zara couldn't be that person. She wouldn't be. Since then she's thrown herself into work. It's easier that way. Safer. Because the truth is, Zara's been carrying a wound for far longer than 2 years. A wound she doesn't talk about even with Imani. A wound that's 15 years old and shaped like a boy who disappeared without saying goodbye. His name was Jin-Woo Park. And he was her first love. Her first everything really. The first person who saw past her ambition to the girl underneath who just wanted to be understood. The first person she trusted with the dreams she kept hidden. The first person who made her believe that love could be gentle and fierce at the same time. And then he vanished. Senior year of high school, 3 months before graduation, Jin-Woo stopped coming to school. His phone was disconnected. His family's grocery store was closed, windows papered over. It was like he'd been erased from Seattle entirely. Zara tried to find him. She tried for years. But there was nothing. No forwarding address, no social media presence, no trace. Eventually she stopped looking. Eventually she convinced herself that he'd simply chosen to leave her behind, that whatever they had wasn't strong enough to warrant even a goodbye. But late at night, when the cases are won and the office is quiet, she still thinks about him. Still wonders what happened to the quiet boy with the careful smile who used to do calculus homework with her in the library, who used to walk her home even though it added 30 minutes to his own commute, who used to look at her like she was the only person in the world who mattered. She doesn't know that tonight he's watching her. She doesn't know that the boy she's been wondering about for 15 years is now a man who commands an empire built in shadows. Let me tell you about Jin-Woo Park. About the man he's become. At 34, Jin-Woo stands at the top of a criminal organization that most people don't even know exists. In the underworld they call him the architect. Not because he designs buildings but because he designs operations so complex, so layered, that law enforcement can never quite connect the dots back to him. He's sophisticated in a way that makes people underestimate him until it's too late. He wears custom suits from Seoul, speaks 4 languages fluently, collects rare art, and can discuss philosophy as easily as he can order someone's financial ruin. He's not the kind of criminal you see in movies, all violence and chaos. Jin-Woo is calculated, strategic, and he operates with a strict moral code that separates him from most men in his position. No drugs. Ever. He's seen what that poison does to communities and he wants no part of it. No human trafficking. The very thought disgusts him. No harm to innocents. His organization focuses on high-level financial crimes, political manipulation, protection services for businesses that need to operate in gray areas. He's ruthless when he needs to be, but he's not cruel. There's a difference, and Jin-Woo understands that difference intimately. He lives in a penthouse that overlooks downtown Los Angeles, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of a city that never sleeps. He's surrounded by wealth most people can't imagine. Original artwork on the walls, a wine collection worth more than most houses, technology that keeps him connected to every corner of his empire at all times. He's respected. He's feared. Men twice his age defer to his judgment. Rival organizations know better than to move against him without careful consideration. The LAPD has files on him but nothing that sticks. The FBI knows his name but they can't prove anything. Jin-Woo built his empire on being 3 steps ahead of everyone else, on understanding that the real power isn't in violence, it's in information and leverage. But despite everything he's built, despite the power and the wealth and the respect, Jin-Woo Park is haunted by loneliness. His second-in-command, Dae-Young Choi, though everyone calls him DJ, has noticed. DJ's been with Jin-Woo for 8 years, since Jin-Woo was still climbing the ranks of his uncle's organization. He's loyal, competent, and one of the few people Jin-Woo trusts completely. And lately DJ's noticed that Jin-Woo's been distracted. It started about 6 months ago. Jin-Woo staring out windows during meetings. Jin-Woo turning down social engagements he would normally attend for appearances. Jin-Woo spending long nights in his penthouse, alone, drinking expensive whiskey and looking at a city full of people he'll never truly connect with. DJ doesn't know the reason but Jin-Woo does. The reason is a girl he left behind 15 years ago. A girl with a brilliant mind and a fierce heart. A girl who showed him kindness when the world showed him nothing but cruelty. A girl who made him believe for just a moment that he could be more than his circumstances. Jin-Woo never stopped thinking about Zara Bennett. She's been the ghost in every room he's entered, the measuring stick for every woman he's tried and failed to feel something for, the reminder that he traded his humanity for power. And now, impossibly, she's here. Less than 50 feet away, alive and real and even more beautiful than he remembered. If you're invested in this story already, hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss what happens next. This is a story about love, redemption, and the impossible choices we make between our past and our future. Let me take you back 15 years. Back to Seattle where this all began. Jin-Woo Park at 17 was nothing like the man sitting in that VIP section. He was small for his age, skinny, with clothes that were always just a little too worn, a little too big, hand-me-downs from cousins in Korea that his mother altered to fit. He spoke English with an accent he couldn't quite shake, no matter how many hours he spent practicing in front of the mirror. His parents ran a small grocery store in a neighborhood that was transitioning, the kind of neighborhood where being different made you a target. School was a nightmare. Other students mocked his accent, called him fresh off the boat even though he'd been in America since he was 9. They made fun of his clothes, his lunch, the way he pronounced certain words. He learned to make himself invisible, to move through hallways like a ghost, to avoid eye contact and confrontation. Until Zara. Zara Bennett was everything Jin-Woo wasn't. Confident, outspoken, popular not because she tried to be but because she genuinely cared about people. She was the girl who organized fundraisers, who sat with the lonely kids at lunch, who called out injustice even when it made her unpopular with the wrong crowd. They met in AP Calculus junior year. Jin-Woo was brilliant at math, one of the few places where language didn't matter, where numbers spoke for themselves. The teacher paired them for a project, and Zara learned quickly that the quiet Korean kid everyone ignored was actually smarter than half the class combined. But it was more than that. When other students made jokes about Jin-Woo's accent, Zara shut it down. Not aggressively but firmly, with the kind of moral clarity that made people ashamed of themselves. She started sitting with him at lunch, asking about his life, actually listening to his answers. Jin-Woo was terrified of her at first. Terrified of saying the wrong thing, of boring her, of her realizing he wasn't worth her time. But Zara had a way of making people feel safe. She asked about his family's store, and when he mentioned they were struggling, she organized a community event that brought in customers. She asked about Korea and genuinely wanted to know about his culture, his memories, the parts of himself he'd learned to hide. They became inseparable. Study sessions turned into long conversations about everything. Life, dreams, fears, the future. Zara wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves. Jin-Woo wanted to protect people, wanted to make sure families like his could be safe, could thrive without fear. Somewhere between calculus equations and shared lunches they fell in love. Not the dramatic, explosive kind of love. The quiet kind. The kind that builds slowly, that feels inevitable, that makes you believe the world might not be as harsh as it seems. Jin-Woo's parents loved Zara. She'd come to the store after school, help stock shelves, charm customers with her smile. His mother would send him home with extra food, knowing Zara's mom was working double shifts and her dad was dealing with his own struggles. It felt like family. It felt like belonging. They talked about the future. Zara had been accepted to UCLA for pre-law. Jin-Woo was hoping for a scholarship to University of Washington for business. They made plans. Tentative, hopeful plans about staying connected, about building lives that could eventually intersect. And then everything shattered. 3 months before graduation, Jin-Woo's father was working late at the store. It was supposed to be a normal night. A routine closing. But 2 men came in with guns, demanding money from the register. Jin-Woo's father, a gentle man who'd never hurt anyone in his life, tried to comply. He opened the register, gave them everything. It wasn't enough. One of the men got agitated, paranoid, thought Jin-Woo's father was moving too slowly, reaching for something. A single gunshot. Over in seconds. Jin-Woo's father bled out on the floor of the store he'd poured his life into, surrounded by products he'd carefully curated for a community that would mourn him for a week and then forget. Jin-Woo's world ended that night. His mother fell into a depression so deep she couldn't get out of bed, couldn't keep the store running, couldn't do anything but stare at the walls and weep. The store closed. Bills piled up. Jin-Woo tried to hold everything together, tried to be strong, but he was 17 and drowning. That's when his uncle appeared. Min-Jun Park, his father's younger brother, a man Jin-Woo had only met twice in his life. Min-Jun had left Korea years ago, made his fortune in Los Angeles in ways that Jin-Woo's father had never approved of. But now, with his brother dead and his nephew struggling, Min-Jun came back. He offered Jin-Woo a choice, though it wasn't really a choice at all. Come to Los Angeles. Join the family business. Learn how to be strong, how to protect the people you love, how to make sure tragedy never touches you again. Or stay in Seattle, watch your mother fade away, lose everything your father worked for, remain powerless. Jin-Woo was 17 and broken and angry. Angry at the world that took his father. Angry at a system that let men with guns walk into stores and destroy lives. Angry at his own weakness, his inability to protect the people he loved. He said yes. Min-Jun had one condition. No contact with the old life. No goodbyes. Clean break. In their world, attachments were weaknesses. The boy Jin-Woo had been needed to die so the man he would become could survive. Jin-Woo wanted to tell Zara. Wanted to explain, to say goodbye properly, to promise he'd come back someday. But Min-Jun was firm. And Jin-Woo, drowning in grief and desperation, convinced himself that leaving without a word was kinder. That Zara would move on, would forget him, would build the brilliant life she deserved without being dragged into his darkness. He left on a Tuesday night. The store was already closed, windows covered. His mother, medicated and silent, sat in the back seat of Min-Jun's expensive car. Jin-Woo took one last look at Seattle, at the city where he'd fallen in love, where he'd believed in futures and possibilities. And then he left. Left Zara behind. Left the boy he was behind. Left everything behind. What Jin-Woo didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Zara tried to find him. She went to the store the next day and found it abandoned. She called his disconnected phone 100 times. She asked everyone, searched everywhere, drove her father crazy with questions about missing persons reports. She tried for years. All through college, every few months she'd search his name online, hoping for something, anything. But Jin-Woo Park had effectively been erased. His uncle made sure of that. New identity. New life. No digital footprint. Eventually Zara stopped searching. But she never stopped wondering. Never stopped carrying that wound of abandonment, of loving someone who disappeared like smoke. She told herself he'd chosen to leave her. That she hadn't mattered enough for even a goodbye. That she was a fool for believing their love was real. And she built walls. Became harder, more guarded. Threw herself into law school, into her career, into fighting battles she could win. Because the one battle she wanted to win, finding Jin-Woo, finding answers, that one was lost. Now 15 years later they're in the same room. Separated by 50 feet and 15 years of pain and transformation. She's the attorney she dreamed of being. He's the criminal she never imagined he'd become. And here's my question for you. Do you think people can really change? Can someone who's built their life in darkness ever truly step back into the light? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is about to test that question in ways neither of them are prepared for. Jin-Woo sits in that VIP section, watching Zara laugh with her friends, and makes a decision that will change both of their lives forever. He's going to approach her. He's going to break 15 years of silence. He's going to walk back into her world and hope that somehow, impossibly, there's still room for him there. He doesn't know yet that this decision will trigger a chain of events that will force him to choose between the empire he's built and the only person who ever made him feel human. He doesn't know that loving Zara Bennett will put her in more danger than she's ever faced in a courtroom. All he knows right now is that he can't let her walk out of this restaurant without trying. Without taking the chance he was too broken to take 15 years ago. The architect, the man who's made a career of calculating risks and controlling outcomes, is about to take the biggest gamble of his life. He's about to stand up, walk down those stairs, and reintroduce himself to the woman who never stopped haunting his dreams. Jin-Woo stands. It's a simple movement, but for him it feels monumental, like standing at the edge of a cliff and choosing to jump. His hands, which have signed documents that moved millions, which have made decisions that altered lives, are trembling slightly. DJ notices, gives him a questioning look, but Jin-Woo doesn't acknowledge it. He's already moving, descending the stairs from the VIP section, weaving through tables of oblivious diners who have no idea they're watching a man walk toward his reckoning. Every step closer to Zara's table feels like moving through water. Time stretches. He can hear her voice now, not just see her. She's telling a story, something about a witness who cracked under cross-examination, and her friends are hanging on every word. She's animated, alive, her hands moving expressively, her eyes bright with the passion she's always had for justice. He's 3 feet away when Imani notices him first. Her eyes travel up, taking in the expensive suit, the confident posture, the face of a man who's clearly approaching with purpose. She touches Zara's arm, nods in his direction. Zara turns. And in that moment Jin-Woo sees everything. The polite smile she pastes on for strangers, the way her eyebrows raise slightly in question, the social armor she's developed as a successful attorney who's approached in public places. She doesn't recognize him. Why would she? The boy she knew was skinny, uncertain, dressed in clothes that never quite fit. The man standing before her is 6 feet tall, filled out with the confidence that comes from power, wearing a suit that costs more than a month's rent, his features sharp and mature where they were once soft and boyish. Jin-Woo says one word. Just her name. Zara. But he says it the way he used to say it 15 years ago, with that slight hesitation on the R, the remnant of an accent he's mostly trained away but that still surfaces in moments of emotion. He says it like a prayer, like a confession, like a word he's been holding in his mouth for 15 years waiting for permission to speak. The wine glass in Zara's hand tilts, nearly slips. She catches it at the last second, sets it down with a hand that's suddenly unsteady. Her eyes, those warm brown eyes that used to look at him like he was someone worth believing in, go wide. She's scanning his face, trying to reconcile the impossible, trying to make the pieces fit. Jin-Woo. Her voice cracks on his name, barely above a whisper. Then louder, disbelieving. Jin-Woo Park. He nods and for a second, just a second, the mask he's worn for 15 years slips. She can see the boy underneath. The boy who used to walk her home. The boy who used to do calculus problems with her in the library. The boy who disappeared and took a piece of her heart with him. Imani and the other friends have gone silent, watching this interaction with the kind of fascination people reserve for car crashes and miracles. They can feel the electricity in the air, the weight of history they don't understand. Can we talk? Jin-Woo asks. His voice is different too, deeper, more controlled, but there's a vulnerability underneath that Zara recognizes. Please. Zara's face cycles through a dozen emotions in seconds. Shock gives way to confusion, confusion to recognition, recognition to something darker. Anger. Hurt. 15 years of unanswered questions rising to the surface like corpses from a lake. She stands, her chair scraping against the floor. Excuse me, she says to her friends, her voice tight with emotion she's trying to control. To Jin-Woo she says nothing, just walks toward the restaurant's entrance. He follows. They end up outside on the sidewalk, Los Angeles traffic humming past them, the warm evening air carrying the scent of jasmine from the restaurant's planters. Zara turns on him, and the force of her gaze nearly makes him step back. Where the hell have you been? The words come out sharp, edged with 15 years of pain. You disappeared, Jin-Woo. You just vanished. No phone call, no letter, nothing. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I thought you were dead. I thought you'd been hurt. I filed missing persons reports. I searched for you for years. Jin-Woo feels each word like a physical blow. He knew this would be hard, but hearing the pain in her voice, seeing the tears she's fighting back, it's worse than anything he imagined. I'm sorry, he says, and it sounds pathetically inadequate even to his own ears. Zara, I'm so sorry. My family situation was complicated. After my father died, everything fell apart. I had to leave Seattle. I had to take care of my mother. It's not a lie, but it's not the truth either. It's the sanitized version, the one that doesn't include organized crime and moral compromises and the systematic dismantling of the boy he used to be. Complicated? Zara's voice rises. You couldn't pick up a phone? Couldn't send a letter? I was 17 and in love with you, and you just erased yourself from my life like I meant nothing. You meant everything. The words burst out of Jin-Woo before he can stop them. You were the only good thing in my life, Zara. Leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I had to. I had no choice. Everyone has a choice, Zara shoots back, but there's less fire in it now. She's searching his face, trying to find the truth in the spaces between his words. Why now? Why approach me now after 15 years? Jin-Woo takes a breath. This is the moment. He could walk away, let her go back to her life, keep his world separate from hers. It would be safer for her. Smarter for him. But he spent 15 years being smart, being careful, building walls between himself and anything resembling genuine human connection. And he's tired. So tired of being alone in rooms full of people, of being the architect instead of just Jin-Woo, of remembering what it felt like to be seen and known and loved for who he actually was. Because I never stopped thinking about you, he says quietly. Because I've regretted leaving every single day since. Because when I saw you walk into that restaurant, I realized I couldn't let you walk out of my life again without at least trying to explain. To apologize. To see if there's any chance you could forgive me. Zara is silent, processing. Her anger is still there, but it's mixing with other things now. Confusion. Curiosity. And underneath it all, something she thought she'd successfully buried. The memory of what it felt like to love him. Behind them, the restaurant door opens. Imani steps out, concern written all over her face. Zara? You okay? Zara glances back at her friend, then at Jin-Woo. She's at a crossroads and they both know it. She could walk away right now. Could tell him that 15 years is too long, that forgiveness isn't something she has to offer, that some doors, once closed, should stay closed. Instead she says, coffee. Tomorrow. There's a place in Silver Lake called Groundwork. 2 o'clock. You can explain yourself properly then. It's not forgiveness. It's not even close. But it's a chance and Jin-Woo will take it. I'll be there, he says. Zara nods, turns to go back inside, then pauses. The Jin-Woo I knew wanted to protect people. To make the world safer. Did you do that? Did you become who you wanted to be? The question lands like a punch. Because the answer is complicated in ways she can't imagine. Jin-Woo has protected people in his own way. His organization operates with rules that keep innocents safe. But he's also done things, ordered things, been part of a world that would horrify the girl who once believed he could be a hero. I became someone who survives, he says finally. But I never became who I wanted to be. That person died in Seattle. It's the most honest thing he said all night. Zara holds his gaze for a long moment, then walks back inside without another word. Jin-Woo stands on the sidewalk watching her go. DJ appears beside him, having followed at a discreet distance. That's her, isn't it? DJ asks quietly. The one you've been looking for. I wasn't looking for her, Jin-Woo says. I didn't think I'd ever see her again. And now everything's about to get very complicated. DJ doesn't respond, but Jin-Woo can feel his concern. In their world, complications mean vulnerabilities. And vulnerabilities get people killed. But Jin-Woo doesn't care. Not right now. Right now, all he cares about is that he has one more chance to talk to Zara Bennett. One more chance to explain the unexplainable. One more chance to see if 15 years of distance can be bridged by the memory of what they once had. Inside the restaurant, Zara slides back into her seat. Her friends are buzzing with questions, but Imani silences them with a look. She studies Zara's face, reading the emotions there with the accuracy of 15 years of friendship. That was him, wasn't it? Imani asks quietly. You're Jin-Woo. The one who disappeared. Zara nods, picks up her wine glass with a hand that's still not quite steady. That was him. He looks different. Everything's different, Zara says. But even as she says it, she's remembering. The way he said her name. The vulnerability in his eyes when he apologized. The echo of the boy she loved in the man who's clearly become someone else entirely. She should be angry. She is angry. But she's also curious and maybe a little hopeful, and definitely terrified of what it means that her heart started racing the moment she recognized him. That night, Zara lies awake in her apartment, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow she's meeting Jin-Woo for coffee. Tomorrow she's going to hear his explanation for abandoning her 15 years ago. Tomorrow she's opening a door she thought she'd locked and thrown away the key to. She tells herself she's doing this for closure. To finally get answers to questions that have haunted her for years. To put this ghost to rest once and for all. But deep down, in a place she's not ready to acknowledge, she knows it's more than that. She wants to see him again. Wants to know who he became. Wants to understand if the connection they had was real or just teenage intensity amplified by time and distance. She has no idea she's about to reconnect with one of Los Angeles's most dangerous men. No idea that the quiet boy who wanted to protect people has become someone who operates in shadows and controls more of the city than the mayor. No idea that agreeing to coffee is the first step into a world that could destroy everything she's built. All she knows is that for the first time in 2 years since her relationship with Marcus ended, she feels something other than numbness. And that feeling, dangerous as it might be, is intoxicating. The next day, Zara arrives at Groundwork Coffee 10 minutes early. It's not like her to be early, but she needs the time to settle her nerves, to prepare herself. She chooses a table in the back, away from the windows, somewhere private. Orders a flat white she probably won't drink. Watches the door. Jin-Woo arrives exactly at 2 o'clock. Punctual, she remembers, was always one of his traits. He's dressed more casually today, dark jeans and a simple black sweater, but it doesn't make him look less expensive. Less powerful. He moves through the cafe like he owns it, that confidence that comes from being someone who's used to controlling every space he enters. He sees her and his entire demeanor shifts. Softens. For a moment he's just a man about to sit down with someone he cares about, not the architect, not a crime boss, just Jin-Woo. Thank you for coming, he says as he slides into the seat across from her. I almost didn't, Zara admits. I spent half the night convincing myself this was a bad idea. Is it? I don't know yet. That depends on what you tell me. Jin-Woo orders an Americano from a passing barista, then turns his full attention to Zara. And that's when she feels it. That same intensity he used to have, the way he could focus on her like she was the only person in the universe. It's both familiar and unsettling. Where do I start? He asks. Start with why you left. Start with why you couldn't say goodbye. So he does. He tells her about his father's murder, and she can see the pain is still fresh even after 15 years. He tells her about his mother's breakdown, about feeling helpless and drowning. He tells her about his uncle offering a way out, a way to take care of his family. What he doesn't tell her is what his uncle actually does. He skips over the criminal organization, the initiation into a world of financial crimes and political manipulation. He says he went into business with his uncle, import and export, that he's done well for himself. It's not technically a lie. His organization does import and export things. Just not the legal kind. Zara listens, and Jin-Woo can see her anger softening into understanding. She's always been empathetic, always able to see past her own hurt to understand someone else's pain. I wish you'd told me, she says finally. I wish you'd trusted me enough to let me be there for you. I know. But I was 17 and barely holding it together. I thought I was protecting you by leaving clean. I didn't understand that disappearing would hurt you more. It did hurt me, Zara says, and there's no accusation in it now, just honesty. For years I wondered if I'd done something wrong. If I hadn't been enough to make you stay. Zara, no. Jin-Woo reaches across the table, stops just short of touching her hand. You were everything. You were the only reason I wanted to stay. But I had to choose between what I wanted and what my family needed. And I chose family. It's the right thing to say, the kind of sacrifice that Zara's moral framework can understand and even respect. She nods slowly, processing. So what have you been doing for 15 years? She asks, steering the conversation to safer ground. Jin-Woo navigates this carefully. He talks about building his business, about Los Angeles, about travel and experiences. He asks about her life, and Zara comes alive talking about law school, about her cases, about the corruption she's fighting. And then she mentions something that makes Jin-Woo's blood run cold. We're actually building a case right now against organized crime's influence in the justice system, Zara says, her eyes bright with passion. Korean and Russian syndicates have been paying off judges, intimidating witnesses. It's massive, Jin-Woo. If we can prove it, it'll be the biggest RICO case in California history. Jin-Woo's expression doesn't change, but inside, alarms are screaming. She's talking about his world. Maybe not his organization specifically, but the ecosystem he operates in. If her case is as big as she thinks, it will inevitably touch his business, his connections, his carefully constructed network. That sounds dangerous, he says carefully. It is, Zara admits. I've gotten threats. Had my car broken into. But that's just proof we're getting close. When they start trying to scare you, it means you're winning. Jin-Woo wants to argue, wants to tell her that she's playing with forces she doesn't understand, that the men she's going after won't just try to scare her. But he can't. Not without revealing things he can't reveal. Instead he says, just be careful. Promise me you'll be careful. Something in his tone makes Zara look at him more closely. You sound really worried. I am. You're going after powerful people, Zara. People who don't play by rules. Neither do I, she says with a smile that's all confidence and determination. That's why I'm good at what I do. They talk for 2 hours. The coffee goes cold, gets replaced, goes cold again. And despite the lies between them, despite the massive truth Jin-Woo is withholding, something real is happening. The chemistry that drew them together 15 years ago is still there, matured and deepened by time and experience. Jin-Woo tells himself he should end this now. Should thank her for the coffee, wish her well, and walk away. Being close to him puts her in danger. His enemies would love to find a weakness they could exploit. And Zara, brilliant, passionate, dedicated to bringing down men exactly like him, is the biggest weakness he's ever had. But when she laughs at something he says, when her hand accidentally brushes his across the table and she doesn't immediately pull away, when she looks at him with eyes that still hold traces of the girl who used to believe in him, he knows he's lost. Can I see you again? He asks as they're finally preparing to leave. Zara hesitates. She should say no. Should recognize that this is complicated, potentially painful, that reopening this door might lead nowhere good. But she's already decided, probably decided the moment she agreed to this coffee date. Yes, she says. I'd like that. They exchange numbers. Make tentative plans for dinner later in the week. Stand on the sidewalk outside the cafe in that awkward space between people who used to be intimate and people who are still strangers. Jin-Woo wants to hug her, but settles for a smile instead. Thank you, Zara. For giving me a chance to explain. For not hating me. I don't hate you, Zara says. I'm not sure what I feel yet. But I don't hate you. It's more than he deserves and they both know it. As Jin-Woo walks away, Zara watches him go. Imani's voice echoes in her head from the night before, warning her that something feels off, that Jin-Woo seems too polished, too guarded, that successful businessmen don't usually have that kind of intensity in their eyes. But Zara dismisses the concerns. People change in 15 years. Jin-Woo's been through trauma, built a business, grown up. Of course he's different. Of course he's more polished and guarded. That's just what surviving does to people. She has no idea how right Imani is. Has no idea that the man she just agreed to see again commands an empire built on secrets and calculated risks. Has no idea that by reconnecting with Jin-Woo Park, she's just painted a target on her own back. All she knows is that for the first time in years she feels alive. Excited. Nervous in a good way. Like maybe there's room in her carefully controlled life for something messy and unpredictable and real. That evening, back in his penthouse, Jin-Woo pours himself a glass of whiskey and stares out at Los Angeles spreading below him like a circuit board of lights. He should be strategizing, should be thinking about the implications of reconnecting with Zara, should be calculating risks and planning contingencies. Instead, he's remembering the way she smiled at him. The way her voice softened when he explained about his father. The way 15 years dissolved the moment they started really talking. DJ finds him there an hour later, still standing at the window, still lost in thought. "We need to talk," DJ says, his tone serious. Jin-Woo turns. "I know what you're going to say." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you just spent 2 hours in public with a woman who prosecutes organized crime. A woman who's currently building a case that could touch our operations. A woman who could destroy everything we've built if she finds out who you really are." "She won't find out." "You can't know that. And even if she doesn't, you've just given our enemies a weakness. Viktor Kozlov has been looking for an opening for months. If he finds out about her..." "He won't," Jin-Woo interrupts, but there's less certainty in his voice than he'd like. DJ sighs, runs a hand through his hair. "I've been with you for 8 years. I've never seen you lose focus, never seen you make decisions based on emotion. But that's what you're doing right now. You're risking everything for a woman who represents everything we're supposed to avoid." "I know," Jin-Woo admits quietly. "But I can't walk away. Not again. I've spent 15 years building this life, this empire, and I've been empty the entire time. Hello. And 2 hours with her reminded me what it feels like to be human. Being human gets people killed in our world. Then maybe I'm tired of our world." The words hang between them, heavy with implication. DJ stares at Jin-Woo like he's looking at a stranger. "You can't mean that. Everything you've built, everything you've sacrificed, was supposed to give me power, security, the ability to protect the people I care about. But who do I have to protect, DJ? Who in my life actually matters? I'm surrounded by associates and employees and people who respect me out of fear or calculation. Zara is the first person in 15 years who's looked at me and seen Jin-Woo instead of the architect." DJ is quiet for a long moment. "If you're going to do this, we need to be smart about it. We need to protect her without her knowing she needs protection. We need to keep her away from anything that could connect her to our operations. And we need to be ready for Kozlov to make a move." Jin-Woo nods. "Agreed. And if it comes down to a choice? Between her and the organization?" Jin-Woo turns back to the window, to the city that's been his kingdom for 15 years. "I don't know," he says honestly. "Ask me when we get there." Meanwhile, across the city, Zara is having a very different conversation. She's at Imani's apartment, curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, telling her best friend about the coffee date. Imani listens, asks questions, and the more Zara talks, the more concerned she becomes. "I'm happy you got closure," Imani says carefully. "But babe, something about this doesn't sit right with me." "What do you mean? Import and export business? That's incredibly vague. And the way you described him, all that confidence and expensive clothes and polish, that doesn't just come from running a regular business. He's been successful. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying maybe I should do some digging. Just to make sure everything's on the up and up." "Imani, no. That's invasive. It's protective. You're my best friend, and you're reconnecting with a guy who disappeared for 15 years and suddenly reappears looking like he stepped out of a crime thriller. Just let me do a basic search. If everything's fine, then great. But if it's not, don't you want to know?" Zara hesitates. Part of her wants to say no, wants to protect this fragile rekindling from the harsh light of investigation. But the attorney in her, the part that's built a career on not taking things at face value, knows Imani has a point. "Fine. But just basic stuff. And Imani? I want him to be who he says he is." "I know you do," Imani says gently. "That's exactly why we need to check." Over the next few days, Imani searches. And what she finds is disturbing in its absence. Jin-Woo Park has almost no digital footprint. No social media presence, no business website, no articles or mentions in trade publications. For someone who claims to run a successful import-export business, he's remarkably invisible. What she does find are vague corporate records, shell companies, addresses that lead to law firms and registered agents. It's the kind of deliberate obscurity that suggests either extreme privacy concerns or something to hide. She presents her findings to Zara, who looks at the printouts with growing unease. "This could mean anything," Zara says, but she doesn't sound convinced. "Maybe he just values his privacy." To this degree? Zara, successful businessmen have online presence. They have LinkedIn profiles, company websites, industry connections. This guy has nothing. It's like he doesn't want to be found. Or maybe he had a bad experience with identity theft or something. You're reading too much into this. But even as she defends him, Zara's legal instincts are pinging. She's prosecuted enough cases to recognize when something doesn't add up. She's seen enough deliberate obfuscation to know what it looks like. She pushes the concerns down, tells herself she's being paranoid, that 15 years of wondering and hurting is making her suspicious of good things. Jin-Woo explained why he left. He's been nothing but kind and honest with her since they reconnected. She has no reason to doubt him beyond Imani's incomplete internet search and her own anxiety. But the seed of doubt has been planted. That Friday, Jin-Woo takes Zara to dinner at an upscale restaurant in downtown LA. He's pulled out all the stops, reservations at a place with a 6-month waiting list, a private table with a view of the city, wine that costs more than most people's monthly rent. Zara is both impressed and slightly uncomfortable. This is a level of wealth and access she doesn't typically operate in. But Jin-Woo is attentive without being overwhelming, charming without being slick. He asks about her cases, genuinely interested in the details of her work. He tells stories about his travels, places he's been, things he's seen. And the chemistry between them is undeniable. Conversation flows easily, laughter comes naturally, and when their hands brush reaching for the same piece of bread, neither pulls away quickly. After dinner, he takes her to an art gallery opening in the Arts District. It's the kind of exclusive event Zara would never normally attend, full of wealthy collectors and serious artists. But Jin-Woo knows the gallery owner, introduces Zara with genuine pride in his voice, stays by her side as she examines paintings and sculptures. "You seem to know a lot of people," Zara observes as they're looking at a stunning abstract piece. "I've lived in LA for 15 years. You accumulate connections. These seem like more than connections. These seem like relationships. Friendships." Jin-Woo is quiet for a moment. "I have associates. People I do business with. But friends? Real friends? That's a shorter list than you'd think. That sounds lonely." "It has been. Until now." The way he says it, the vulnerability in his voice, makes Zara's breath catch. She turns to look at him, and he's already looking at her, and the moment stretches between them charged with possibility. "Jin-Woo, I need to ask you something," Zara says, and she can hear the attorney in her voice, the one who needs truth even when it's uncomfortable. "Are you being honest with me? About your business, about your life, about why you're really here?" Jin-Woo's heart sinks. This is the moment. He could tell her the truth right now. Could lay it all out and let her decide with full information whether she wants him in her life. But if he does that, he loses her. He knows he loses her. Because Zara Bennett, civil rights attorney who's dedicated her life to fighting corruption and injustice, cannot be with someone who operates in the shadows. So he lies. Or rather, he tells a partial truth. "I'm being as honest as I can be," he says. "My business is complicated, and there are things I can't discuss because of confidentiality agreements. But everything I've told you about my past, about why I left, about how I felt about you then and how I feel about you now, that's all completely true. It's enough." "Barely." Zara nods, accepting the explanation because she wants to accept it, because the alternative is walking away from something that feels important. "Okay," she says. "Thank you for being honest." The irony of the statement nearly breaks Jin-Woo, but he swallows it down, smiles, takes her hand as they move to the next painting. The evening ends on a rooftop garden atop the gallery building. The city spreads out below them, a constellation of lights and lives and stories. They're alone, just the two of them in Los Angeles in the warm night air. "This reminds me of Seattle," Zara says softly. "We used to go up on that hill near your parents' store, remember? We'd sit there for hours just talking." "I remember everything about that time," Jin-Woo says. "Every conversation, every moment. I've replayed them in my head 1,000 times. Why didn't you try to find me? After things stabilized, after you got established, why didn't you reach out?" "Because I was ashamed. Because I'd become someone different from the boy you knew. Because I didn't think I deserved a second chance. And now I'm still not sure I deserve it. But I'm hoping you'll give it to me anyway." Zara turns to face him fully. She's standing so close he can see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, can smell her perfume, can feel the warmth radiating from her skin. "I shouldn't," she says. "This is probably a terrible idea. You disappeared once and there's no guarantee you won't do it again. You're still keeping secrets, I can feel it. And I have no idea where this could possibly go. But I can't stop thinking about you. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you for 15 years. And maybe I need to see this through, whatever it becomes, so I can finally move on. Or maybe so I don't have to." Jin-Woo lifts his hand, gently brushes a strand of hair from her face. "I won't disappear again. I promise you that. Whatever happens between us, I'll be here. You can't know that. I do know that. Because walking away from you the first time nearly destroyed me. I'm not doing it again. Not by choice. They're so close now that Zara can feel his breath on her face. Every rational part of her brain is screaming warnings, telling her to slow down, to be careful, to protect herself. But the part that remembers what it felt like to love him, the part that's been lonely and guarded for so long, is louder. Jin-Woo, she whispers, and it sounds like a question and an answer at the same time. He kisses her. Softly at first, tentative, giving her space to pull away if she wants to. But she doesn't pull away. Instead, she leans into him, her hands finding his chest, then his shoulders, then threading through his hair. The kiss deepens, 15 years of longing and loss and found again possibility pouring into it. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, Jin-Woo rests his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you in that restaurant, he admits. I've wanted you to do that since I realized who you were, Zara says back. They stand there holding each other, the city humming below them. And for that moment, it doesn't matter that Jin-Woo is lying. It doesn't matter that Zara's instincts are trying to warn her. It doesn't matter that they're building something on a foundation of secrets and half-truths. All that matters is that they're together again. That the connection that drew them to each other 15 years ago is still alive, still powerful, still undeniable. But while they're lost in each other on that rooftop, wheels are turning elsewhere in Los Angeles. Viktor Kozlov, Jin-Woo's primary rival, has had people watching the architect for weeks. And tonight those people took photos. Jin-Woo Park, who never appears with romantic partners, who keeps his personal life completely separate from business, kissing a woman on a rooftop in the arts district. His people are already running her face through databases, already digging into who she is, what she does, how she connects to Jin-Woo. By morning, Kozlov will know that Jin-Woo has found his weakness. And by morning he'll be planning how to exploit it. Jin-Woo and Zara have no idea that their reunion has just made both of them targets. Have no idea that the love they're rekindling could be the thing that destroys them both. Hit that subscribe button now, because what's coming next will test everything these two believe about love, loyalty, and the possibility of redemption. This story is about to get dangerous. Over the next 2 weeks, Jin-Woo and Zara fall into something that looks like a relationship. He takes her to exclusive restaurants, art galleries, sends flowers to her office with notes written in his careful handwriting. He sends her rare first-edition books on legal history that she mentioned loving. He listens to her talk about her cases with genuine interest, offers insights that surprise her with their depth. Zara introduces him to her world too. Community events in her neighborhood, dinners with friends, the places she loves that aren't expensive or exclusive, just real. Jin-Woo moves through these spaces with surprising ease, charming her friends, fitting into her life in ways that feel natural. But there's one person who's not charmed. Zara's father, Robert Bennett. Robert is a retired detective, 30 years with the Seattle PD, now living in Los Angeles to be close to his daughter. He's seen enough in his career to recognize danger when it walks through his door. And Jin-Woo Park, with his expensive clothes and careful answers and eyes that don't quite match his smile, sets off every alarm Robert has. They meet at a Sunday dinner at Robert's house. Zara brings Jin-Woo, nervous and excited for the two most important men in her life to meet. The evening is cordial but tense. Robert asks questions with the precision of someone who's conducted thousands of interrogations. Where exactly is your business located? What specifically do you import and export? How did you build your company so successfully in just 15 years? Jin-Woo navigates the questions smoothly, but Robert notices what Zara doesn't. The micro-pauses before answers, the way Jin-Woo's eyes calculate before speaking, the practiced nature of his responses. After dinner, while Zara is in the kitchen, Robert corners Jin-Woo on the back porch. I don't know what you're really doing in Los Angeles, Robert says quietly, but I know you're not just an import-export businessman. I've spent 3 decades reading people, son. And you? You're hiding something. Jin-Woo meets his eyes steadily. I care about your daughter, Mr. Bennett. That's not a lie. Maybe not. But caring about someone and being good for them are two different things. Zara's been hurt before. Badly. By you actually, even if she's forgiven you for it. If you hurt her again, if whatever you're hiding comes back to damage her, there won't be anywhere in this city you can hide from me. I understand. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're exactly the kind of man I used to arrest. Smooth, confident, always 3 steps ahead of the conversation. Men like you don't get wealthy and connected in 15 years through legitimate business alone. Jin-Woo wants to argue, wants to defend himself, but Robert Bennett is too sharp. He's seen too much. And the truth is he's absolutely right. I would never intentionally hurt Zara, Jin-Woo says instead. She means everything to me. Intention doesn't matter if the result is the same. You're in her life now and that makes you my problem. I'm going to be watching you, Mr. Park. Every move you make. And if I find out you're putting my daughter at risk, we're going to have a very different conversation. It's a clear threat and they both know it. Jin-Woo nods, respects it even. Robert Bennett is doing exactly what Jin-Woo would do in his position, protecting the person he loves from potential danger. The irony is that the biggest danger to Zara right now is Jin-Woo himself. Not because he wants to harm her but because his world is dangerous and proximity to him makes her a target. When Zara comes back outside she finds them standing in silence, the tension thick enough to cut. "Everything okay?" she asks, looking between them. "Fine," Robert says, forcing a smile. "Just getting to know each other." But later when Jin-Woo has left, Robert pulls Zara aside. "Be careful with him, honey. Please." "Dad, I know you're worried but Jin-Woo's a good person. He's just private about his business." "Too private." "Zara, I know you care about him but something's not right. Trust my instincts on this." "Your instincts see criminals everywhere because that's what you dealt with for 30 years. Jin-Woo's not a criminal. He's just someone who's been through trauma and built walls to protect himself." Robert wants to argue more, wants to forbid her from seeing Jin-Woo the way he could when she was 16. But she's 33 now, brilliant and independent, and all he can do is watch and wait and pray his daughter's judgment is better than his gut feeling. But Robert Bennett's gut is rarely wrong. And that night he makes a call to a friend still active in the force. Asks him to quietly look into Jin-Woo Park. No official investigation, just some digging. Because Robert has spent his life protecting people, and he's not going to stop now just because his daughter is in love. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo is transforming in ways that surprise even him. DJ notices it first. The boss who used to work until midnight is now leaving the office at reasonable hours. The man who attended every organizational meeting with military precision is now delegating more, trusting his lieutenants to handle things. The architect who built his reputation on being 3 steps ahead of everyone, is distracted, softer, laughing at things that wouldn't have registered before. "You're different," DJ observes one evening as they're reviewing financial reports in Jin-Woo's penthouse. "Different how?" "Happier. More human." "It's good to see but it also makes me nervous." "Why nervous?" "Because happiness makes people vulnerable. And we can't afford vulnerability right now." Kozlov's been quiet, which usually means he's planning something. "The investigation Zara mentioned is getting closer to our periphery operations. And you're spending more time thinking about rooftop kisses than about protecting what we've built." Jin-Woo sets down the report he's been pretending to read. "Maybe what we've built isn't worth protecting if it means living like ghosts." DJ stares at him. "You can't be serious. Everything we've done, every sacrifice we've made, was to build this organization. To have power and security and control. And I've had all of that for years. And I've been miserable. Zara reminds me what it feels like to actually live instead of just survive. She's an attorney who prosecutes organized crime, Jin-Woo. She represents everything we're supposed to avoid. If she finds out who you really are." "She won't. You can't guarantee that. And even if she doesn't, this relationship puts both of you at risk. Our enemies will see her as leverage. Law enforcement will see her as a connection point. You're exposing both of you for what? Nostalgia? A second chance at high school romance?" The dismissive tone makes Jin-Woo's jaw tighten. "It's more than that and you know it." "Maybe it is. But it's also dangerous and potentially catastrophic. I'm asking you to think clearly here. To remember what's at stake." "I'm thinking clearly. For the first time in 15 years I'm thinking clearly. And what I see clearly is that I don't want to spend the rest of my life alone in this penthouse, counting money and managing operations and pretending that's enough." DJ is quiet for a long moment. "If you're serious about her, if this isn't just nostalgia, then we need to make plans. Contingencies. Ways to protect her if things go wrong. Already working on it. I want surveillance on her apartment, her office. I want people watching her when I can't. I want to know if anyone suspicious comes near her. She's going to notice protection details. Not if they're good enough. And ours are the best." DJ nods slowly. "I'll set it up. But Jin-Woo? You need to be prepared for the possibility that this doesn't end well. That eventually she'll find out. Or that being with you will put her in danger you can't protect her from. What happens then?" Jin-Woo doesn't answer because he doesn't have an answer. He's operating on hope and feeling, something he hasn't done since he was 17. It's terrifying and exhilarating and he knows it's reckless. But he also knows he's not walking away from Zara. Not again. Whatever comes they'll face it. He'll find a way to protect her, to keep his world separate from hers, to have both the empire he's built and the woman he's loved since he was a boy. He has to believe it's possible. Because the alternative, losing her again or watching his world destroy her, is unthinkable. 3 weeks into their rekindled relationship, Zara and Jin-Woo are at a charity gala in Beverly Hills. It's an event for one of Zara's causes, raising money for legal defense funds for wrongly convicted prisoners. Jin-Woo has donated generously, anonymously, but he's here tonight as Zara's date, watching her work the room with impressive ease. She's in her element here, talking about justice and reform with passion that makes everyone around her lean in. Jin-Woo watches from a few feet away, and he's so focused on her that he doesn't notice someone approaching until it's too late. The architect at a charity gala. Now I've seen everything. Jin-Woo turns, his blood running cold. Standing beside him, drink in hand and smirk on his face, is Viktor Kozlov. He's a big man, Russian accent still thick despite decades in America, known in their world for his brutality and his complete lack of moral code. He's everything Jin-Woo refuses to be, and they've been circling each other for years, waiting for an opening. Kozlov, Jin-Woo says evenly, his face carefully neutral. Didn't expect to see you at an event like this. I could say the same. Although I understand the appeal now. Kozlov's eyes drift to Zara, and Jin-Woo has to physically restrain himself from reacting. She's beautiful. Smart too from what I hear. Civil rights attorney fighting the good fight against men like us. There is no us, Victor. And I'd appreciate if you kept your attention elsewhere. Protective already? How sweet. You know, I did some research after I saw you two together. Zara Bennett. Impressive career. Won some big cases. Currently building something that could cause problems for a lot of people in our industry. She has nothing to do with my business. Doesn't she? Because from where I stand, you've just given me something you've never had before. A weakness. A pressure point. Something to care about. Jin-Woo steps closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. If you touch her, if you even think about approaching her, I will destroy everything you've built. Every operation, every connection, every dollar you have will disappear. And then I'll come for you personally. Kozlov grins, unbothered by the threat. There's the fire I was looking for. You've gotten soft, Jin-Woo. Everyone's noticed. You're distracted, sloppy, making emotional decisions. It's only a matter of time before someone takes advantage. Is that someone you? Maybe. Maybe not. But you should know that she's a target now. Not just from me but from everyone who wants to see you fall. You've brought her into our world whether you meant to or not. And that world tends to consume beautiful things. Before Jin-Woo can respond, Zara appears at his side, smiling and oblivious to the tension. There you are. I want you to meet someone. She notices Kozlov, extends her hand politely. Hi, I'm Zara Bennett. Kozlov takes her hand, kisses it in an exaggerated old-world gesture. Viktor Kozlov. Charm. Your date and I were just discussing business. Oh, you're an import-export too? Something like that. We operate in similar circles. His smile is all teeth. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other. After Kozlov walks away, Zara turns to Jin-Woo. He seemed intense. Friend of yours. Competitor, Jin-Woo says, his mind racing with implications. Stay away from him if you see him again. He's not someone you want to know. That serious? Yes. Jin-Woo's voice is harder than he intends, and he sees Zara pull back slightly. He softens, takes her hand. Sorry? He just brings out the worst in me. Cutthroat business politics. Zara nods, but Jin-Woo can see the wheels turning in her mind. She's too smart not to notice that the interaction wasn't just about business competition. That there was something darker underneath. The gala ends and Jin-Woo drives Zara home in silence. His mind is working through scenarios, calculating risks, planning contingencies. Kozlov knows about Zara now. Has threatened her, however obliquely. That changes everything. You're quiet, Zara observes as they pull up to her apartment. Just thinking about work. That man really got to you, didn't he? Jin-Woo turns to face her. Zara, I need you to promise me something. If anyone approaches you about me, about my business, anyone who makes you uncomfortable or asks strange questions, you tell me immediately. Don't engage, don't answer questions, just tell me. Jin-Woo, you're scaring me. What's really going on? Nothing. Business can get complicated sometimes. And I don't want you caught in any crossfire. Crossfire? That's a strange word choice for import-export business. She's looking at him with those sharp attorney eyes, the ones that see through lies and evasions. Jin-Woo knows he's on dangerous ground, that if he's not careful, this whole carefully constructed story will collapse. It's a competitive industry, he says finally. People play dirty sometimes. I just want you safe. Zara studies him for a long moment, and Jin-Woo can practically see her filing this conversation away, adding it to the growing list of things that don't quite add up about him. Okay, she says finally. I promise. But Jin-Woo, if there's something I should know about you, about your business, I need you to tell me. I can't be with someone who keeps dangerous secrets from me. I know, Jin-Woo says, and it's the most honest thing he said all night. He kisses her goodnight, watches her go inside, then sits in his car making phone calls. To DJ, ordering increased surveillance on Zara. To his security team, giving them Kozlov's description and orders to track his movements. To his information network, demanding everything they can find on Kozlov's current operations and vulnerabilities. Because Viktor Kozlov just made a fatal mistake. He threatened the one thing Jin-Woo cares about more than his empire. And that means war. The next morning, Robert Bennett gets a call from his friend in the police force. What he hears makes his blood run cold. Jin-Woo Park's name has come up in connection with organized crime investigations. Nothing concrete, nothing they can prove, but enough smoke to suggest fire. Shell companies, suspicious financial transactions, connections to known criminals. Robert immediately calls Zara, tells her they need to talk. They meet at a coffee shop near her office, and he lays out everything he's learned. Zara listens, her face carefully neutral, her attorney mask firmly in place. But inside she's screaming. Because everything Robert's telling her, every suspicion, every red flag, aligns with things she's tried to ignore. The expensive lifestyle with no clear source of wealth. The vague answers about his business. The way people seem to defer to Jin-Woo at that gala, not out of respect but out of something closer to fear. This doesn't prove anything, she says when Robert finishes. Suspicious doesn't mean criminal. Zara, honey, listen to yourself. You're defending him the way defense attorneys defend clients they know are guilty. You're smarter than this. I'm not defending him. I'm saying we need actual evidence before we make accusations. Everything you've told me is circumstantial. Then ask him. Point blank. Ask him what he really does. And watch his face when he answers. You'll know. Zara doesn't want to ask because she's afraid of the answer. Afraid that the man she's falling in love with all over again is someone she could never be with. Someone whose very existence contradicts everything she's built her life around. But she's also an attorney, someone who's dedicated her life to truth and justice. And she can't ignore this. Won't ignore this. That night she calls Jin-Woo. Asks him to come over. Needs to talk. Jin-Woo knows immediately that something's wrong. Zara's voice is too controlled, too careful. The warmth that's been there for weeks is gone, replaced by the professional tone she uses in court. He arrives at her apartment, and she's waiting with 2 glasses of wine she hasn't touched and a posture that screams interrogation, not conversation. We need to talk about your business, Zara says without preamble. Jin-Woo's heart sinks. This is it. The moment he's been dreading. What about it? I need you to be completely honest with me. What exactly do you do? And don't give me the import-export line. I need the truth. Zara? The truth, Jin-Woo. Because my father did some digging, and what he found doesn't match what you've been telling me. So either explain the discrepancies or admit you've been lying. Jin-Woo stands there at the crossroads he knew was coming. He can tell her the truth and lose her. Or he can lie more convincingly and potentially keep her but build their relationship on an even shakier foundation. What would you do if you were in Jin-Woo's position? Tell the truth and risk losing everything? Or keep lying to protect the person you love? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Jin-Woo takes a breath, and for the first time since they reconnected, he makes a choice that surprises even himself. You're right, he says quietly. I haven't been completely honest with you. You're right. I haven't been completely honest with you. The words hang in Zara's apartment like smoke, poisoning the air between them. She's standing by the window, arms crossed defensively, waiting. Jin-Woo can see her legal mind working, cataloging every word he's about to say, preparing to use it against him or against herself for believing in him. But before he can continue, before he can confess everything, Zara's phone rings. It's her office. Emergency. They need her to come in immediately. We'll finish this conversation, she tells Jin-Woo, her voice cold. Don't go anywhere. But as she grabs her bag and heads out, Jin-Woo knows that conversation may never happen. Because the universe, it seems, has other plans. The next morning, Zara walks into her office to find her entire team assembled. There's been a breakthrough in a case they've been building for months. A money laundering operation tied to Korean organized crime. They've finally got enough evidence to move forward with prosecution. Surveillance photos, financial records, witness testimony. It's all there, laid out on the conference table like pieces of a puzzle that's finally coming together. Zara picks up the first stack of surveillance photos, her prosecutorial mind already organizing the evidence, building the narrative she'll present to a jury. And then she sees it. Photo number 47. Taken outside a restaurant in Koreatown 3 months ago. Two men meeting, clearly deep in conversation. One of them is a known lieutenant in a Korean crime syndicate, someone they've been tracking for years. The other is Jin-Woo Park. The room tilts. Zara can't breathe. Her colleague is still talking, explaining the connections, the money trail, the organizational structure they've mapped out. But Zara can't hear anything over the roaring in her ears. She's staring at the photo, at Jin-Woo's face, at the undeniable evidence that the man she's been falling in love with isn't just connected to organized crime. He is organized crime. More photos. Jin-Woo meeting with various members of the organization. Jin-Woo at locations they've identified as fronts for illegal operations. Jin-Woo's name, buried deep in shell company records, connected to the very network they're trying to dismantle. Zara? You okay? Her colleague touches her arm, concerned. She realizes she's been staring at the same photo for 3 minutes, her hands trembling so badly the paper is shaking. I need a minute, she manages to say, and walks out of the conference room on legs that don't feel entirely solid. In the bathroom, she braces herself against the sink, staring at her reflection. The woman looking back at her is someone who's dedicated her entire adult life to fighting corruption, to bringing criminals to justice, to being on the right side of the law. And that woman has been sleeping with someone who represents everything she's sworn to oppose. The betrayal is so complete, so devastating, that for a moment she thinks she might actually be sick. He lied. About everything. His business, his life, who he is. Every word out of his mouth since they reconnected has been a carefully constructed fiction. And she believed him. Believed him because she wanted to, because she was so desperate to recapture what they had that she ignored every red flag, every warning, every instinct telling her something was wrong. Her father was right. Imani was right. And she was a fool. Zara returns to the conference room, forces herself to focus on the case. But she can't be the lead prosecutor anymore. She excuses herself, cites a potential conflict, doesn't explain further. Her supervisor is confused but agrees to reassign her. Zara Bennett doesn't drop cases. Ever. But she can't prosecute this one. Can't sit in a courtroom and present evidence against an organization that Jin-Woo is part of. Can't do her job and protect him at the same time. And the fact that her first instinct was to protect him, even now, even knowing what he is, makes her hate herself almost as much as she hates him. That night she goes to his penthouse. Doesn't call ahead. Just shows up, gets past the doorman who recognizes her now as Jin-Woo's girlfriend, takes the elevator to the top floor where he lives in luxury paid for by criminal enterprise. Jin-Woo opens the door, surprised to see her, and whatever he sees in her face makes his expression collapse. You know, he says. It's not a question. I know. Zara pushes past him into the penthouse. I saw the surveillance photos. Your face, clear as day, meeting with members of a criminal organization my office has been investigating for years. So yes, Jin-Woo, I know. He closes the door quietly, a man facing his execution. I was going to tell you. Last night, before you got called in, I was about to tell you everything. Were you? Or were you about to tell me another carefully crafted lie? Another version of the truth that would let you keep me without actually being honest? Zara, please? Don't. Her voice cracks. Don't say my name like that. Don't use the voice you used when we were 17 and you actually were the person I thought you were. That person doesn't exist. Maybe he never did. He did exist. He still exists, Zara. I'm still the boy who loved you in Seattle. But I'm also the man who had to survive after leaving. Survive? You call this surviving? She gestures at the penthouse, at the expensive art on the walls, at the view of a city he controls from the shadows. You didn't survive, Jin-Woo. You thrived. You built an empire on the backs of illegal operations and criminal activity. You became exactly the kind of person I've spent my entire career fighting against. Jin-Woo's face is anguished, but he doesn't deny it. Can't deny it. The evidence is literally sitting in Zara's office, undeniable and damning. Let me explain, he says. Let me tell you how it happened, how I got here. It's not what you think. Then tell me. Tell me everything and don't you dare leave anything out. So he does. He tells her about arriving in Los Angeles at 17, broken and angry and desperate. About his uncle, Minjun Park, who ran a branch of a Korean organized crime syndicate. About being given a choice that wasn't really a choice: join the family business or watch his mother fade away from grief and poverty. He tells her about the early years, the things he had to do to prove himself, to climb the ranks. The moral compromises he made, telling himself each time that it was temporary, that once he had enough power he'd change things from the inside. He tells her about taking over from his uncle 5 years ago, about implementing his code. No drugs. No human trafficking. No harm to innocents. About trying to be a different kind of criminal, as if such a thing could exist. He tells her about the loneliness, the emptiness of building an empire with no one to share it with. About never stopping thinking of her, about searching for her online over the years but never reaching out because he knew what he'd become would destroy her. "I'm not the monster you think I am," Jin-Woo says, and his voice is raw with emotion. "Yes, I run a criminal organization. Yes, I've broken laws and made money through illegal means. But I've also protected people. Kept drugs out of neighborhoods. Stopped human traffickers from operating in my territory. I've used my power to make things better where I could. That doesn't make it right." Zara's voice rises. "You don't get to be a criminal with a heart of gold and pretend that makes it okay. The law doesn't work that way. Morality doesn't work that way. You're still a criminal, Jin-Woo. Still someone who operates outside the system I've dedicated my life to upholding." "I know. You're right. But I also know that the system you're upholding is broken. You know it too. You've seen it in every case you've fought. The corruption, the injustice, the way the wealthy and powerful manipulate the law while people like my father get murdered in their own stores with no justice. So your solution is to become part of the problem? To add more corruption, more crime, more darkness to a world that already has too much? My solution was to survive and protect the people I could protect. That's all I've been doing for 15 years. Zara is crying now, tears streaming down her face, and she hates that she's crying in front of him, hates that even now, even knowing everything, part of her wants to believe him. Wants to find a way to make this work. "I can't be with you," she says, and the words feel like she's tearing out her own heart. "I can't be with someone who lives outside the law. Who's made a life out of the things I'm fighting against. It doesn't matter if you have a code or rules or good intentions. You're still a criminal. And I'm still an attorney who prosecutes criminals." "I know," Jin-Woo says quietly. "I knew from the moment I saw you in that restaurant that this would end here. But I had to try. Had to see if there was any way we could work. There isn't. There can't be. Everything we've built over the past month has been based on lies. And I can't trust you. I can't trust anything you've told me. Everything I told you about my feelings was true. How I felt about you then, how I feel about you now, that was never a lie. It doesn't matter. Love isn't enough when everything else is broken." Zara turns to leave and Jin-Woo doesn't try to stop her. He knows she's right. Has known from the beginning that this was impossible. He just let himself hope for a few brief weeks, that maybe love could be enough. That maybe the boy he used to be and the man he'd become could somehow coexist. But they can't. Zara Bennett and Jin-Woo Park exist on opposite sides of a line that can't be crossed. And trying to cross it has only brought them both pain. "I'm sorry," Jin-Woo says as she reaches the door. "For lying. For bringing you into this. For not being the person you deserved." Zara pauses, doesn't turn around. "I'm sorry too. Sorry that the boy I loved grew into someone I can't be with. Sorry that life took you down this path. Sorry that we found each other again only to lose each other worse than before." She leaves. The door closes. And Jin-Woo stands in his empty penthouse, surrounded by wealth and power that suddenly feels utterly meaningless, and lets himself break. 2 weeks pass like an open wound. Zara throws herself into work with manic intensity. Takes on extra cases, stays at the office until midnight, fills every moment so she doesn't have time to think about Jin-Woo. About the way he looked when she left. About the emptiness in her chest that won't go away no matter how many hours she works. Imani watches her friend self-destruct with growing concern. She's seen Zara heartbroken before when Marcus left, but this is different. This is deeper, more devastating because this isn't just about losing a relationship. This is about losing a dream, a belief, a fundamental part of who Zara thought she was. "You need to talk about it," Imani says one night, finding Zara still at her desk at 9 p.m., surrounded by case files she's not actually reading. "There's nothing to talk about. You lied. I found out. It's over. Except you're still in love with him. That doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters, Zara. You can be right and still be miserable. You can make the moral choice and still lose something precious. What are you saying? That I should forgive him? Be with a criminal? I'm saying that maybe the world isn't as black and white as you want it to be. That maybe people are more complicated than good and bad. That maybe... Don't. Zara's voice is sharp. Don't try to make this complicated when it's actually very simple. Jin-Woo is a criminal. I'm an attorney. We can't be together. End of story. But Imani can see it's not the end of the story. Can see that Zara is suffering in a way that goes beyond righteous anger or betrayed trust. She's suffering because she's still in love with Jin-Woo despite everything. And that love is warring with her principles in a battle that's tearing her apart. Across the city, Jin-Woo is going through his own transformation. But his is darker, colder. The softness that Zara brought out in him is gone, buried under layers of ice. He's become the architect again, ruthlessly efficient, emotionally disconnected, making decisions with perfect logic and zero compassion. DJ notices the change and doesn't know whether to be relieved or worried. The distracted, love-struck version of Jin-Woo was vulnerable. But this version, this cold and calculating version, is almost worse. Because this Jin-Woo doesn't care about anything. And a man who doesn't care about anything is capable of truly terrible things. We need to talk about the Kozlov situation, DJ says one morning, finding Jin-Woo in his office at dawn, working through files with mechanical precision. What about it? He's been making moves. Testing our defenses. I think he's planning something. Let him plan. We're ready for whatever he does. Are we? Because you seem pretty checked out right now. Jin-Woo finally looks up, and DJ almost steps back from the coldness in his eyes. I'm more focused than I've been in months. Personal distractions are gone. I'm thinking clearly now. You're thinking like a machine. That's not the same as thinking clearly. It's better. Emotions make us weak. I forgot that for a while. Won't make that mistake again. DJ wants to argue, wants to tell Jin-Woo that the humanity he showed with Zara wasn't weakness, it was growth. But he can see there's no reaching him right now. The walls are back up, higher and thicker than before. What neither of them knows is that Viktor Kozlov has indeed been planning. And his plan involves the one thing he knows will destroy Jin-Woo completely. Zara Bennett. Kozlov's been having her watched since that night at the gala. Knows about the breakup. Knows she's alone and vulnerable and working late nights at her office. Knows that Jin-Woo, for all his protestations of being over it, still has people watching her. Still cares enough to make sure she's protected. Which means she's still leverage. Still a weapon Kozlov can use. She's leaving her office now, one of Kozlov's men reports into a phone. Alone. Walking to her car in the parking garage. Take her, Kozlov orders. Clean and quiet. I want her in the warehouse within the hour. Zara is exhausted as she makes her way to her car. It's past 11 and she's been working on a brief that's due tomorrow. Her eyes are burning, her head is pounding, and all she wants is to go home and collapse into bed and not think about Jin-Woo for at least 6 hours. She doesn't notice the van parked near her car. Doesn't see the men waiting in the shadows. Doesn't realize she's in danger until hands grab her from behind, a cloth covers her mouth and nose, and the world goes fuzzy and then black. She wakes up with her head pounding and her wrists bound. She's in a chair in what looks like an abandoned warehouse, the kind of place she's only seen in crime scene photos. Cold, dark, smelling of rust and old fear. Ah, Miss Bennett. Welcome back. Zara's head snaps up. A large man with a Russian accent approaches and recognition hits her. The man from the gala. Viktor Kozlov. What is this? Zara's voice is steady despite the terror coursing through her. Do you have any idea what you've done? I'm an attorney. People know where I am. If you think... I think that you're valuable bait, Kozlov interrupts, pulling up a chair and sitting across from her. For a man who claims he doesn't care about you anymore but still has guards watching your apartment, following you to work, making sure you're safe. Zara's heart sinks. Jin-Woo has been watching her. Even after she left, even after she made it clear they were over, he's been protecting her. He won't come for me, she says, trying to sound convincing. We're not together. Whatever you think I mean to him, you're wrong. Then I guess we'll see. Because I've already sent him your location. Told him that if he wants you to live, he needs to come alone. No crew, no backup, no tricks. Just him. He's smarter than that. He'll know it's a trap. Of course he knows it's a trap. But he'll come anyway. Because men like Jin-Woo, men who pretend they don't have weaknesses, always break when you threaten the one thing they actually care about. Kozlov stands, pats Zara's cheek in a gesture that makes her skin crawl. Make yourself comfortable, Ms. Bennett. This might take a while. And when your former lover arrives, You'll get to watch him die before I decide what to do with you. He walks away, leaving Zara alone with 2 guards. She's terrified but forces herself to think like the attorney she is. Assess the situation. Look for exits. Remember her self-defense training. Don't panic. But underneath the professional assessment, one thought keeps repeating. Jin-Woo is going to come for her. She knows it with the same certainty she knows her own name. He's going to walk into a trap because of her, and there's nothing she can do to stop him. Across the city, Jin-Woo receives Kozlov's message. A video of Zara bound to a chair, looking terrified but trying to hide it. Kozlov's voice explaining the terms, come alone or she dies. DJ is already assembling the crew when Jin-Woo walks into the operations room. It's obviously a trap, DJ says. Kozlov wants you dead, wants to take over your territory. He's using her to draw you out. I know. So we plan carefully. We bring everyone. We hit them from multiple angles. No. Jin-Woo's voice is calm but absolute. He said come alone. That's what I'm doing. That's suicide. Jin-Woo, think about this. You go in there alone, you die. And then Kozlov probably kills her anyway. What's the point? The point is that I put her in danger by being in her life. That I broke her heart by lying to her. That I've done nothing but hurt her since the moment I walked back into her world. The least I can do is try to save her, even if it costs me everything. She left you. She made it clear she wants nothing to do with you or your world. Doesn't matter. I love her. That doesn't stop just because she doesn't love me back. DJ stares at his boss, his friend, and realizes there's no arguing. Jin-Woo has made his decision. He's going to trade his life for Zara's, and nothing anyone says will change his mind. At least take backup, DJ pleads. Let us position around the warehouse. We won't interfere unless things go wrong. Jin-Woo considers, then nods. Fine. But you stay back unless I give the signal. I don't want Kozlov having any excuse to hurt her. 30 minutes later, Jin-Woo is driving toward the warehouse address Kozlov provided. He's armed but knows it won't matter much against however many men Kozlov has waiting. He's made peace with the likelihood that he's not walking out of this alive. But if he can save Zara, if he can make sure she gets out safely, then maybe the last 15 years weren't completely wasted. Maybe the boy who wanted to protect people didn't die in Seattle after all. Maybe he's been waiting for this moment, this chance to do the one purely good thing the architect has done in his entire criminal career. He pulls up to the warehouse, takes a breath, checks his phone one last time to see the positions of DJ and the crew, strategically placed around the perimeter. Then he gets out of the car and walks toward the entrance, toward almost certain death, toward the woman he loves and couldn't save from himself. The warehouse door is open. Waiting. Jin-Woo walks through into dim light and the smell of old concrete and rust. Zara is in the center of the space, still bound to the chair, surrounded by Kozlov's men. Maybe 10 of them, all armed, all watching Jin-Woo with the anticipation of predators who've finally cornered their prey. Kozlov himself stands near Zara, gun in hand, smiling. The architect. You came. Let her go. This is between us. Eventually. But first I thought we'd have a conversation. About territory, about power, about the fact that you've gotten soft and sloppy and it's time for new leadership in this city. Jin-Woo's eyes find Zara's. She's looking at him with an expression he can't quite read. Fear, yes, but also something else. Something that might be regret or might be the realization that she still cares despite everything. I'm here, Jin-Woo says, forcing his attention back to Kozlov. I came alone like you asked. Now let her go. She has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this. She's your weakness. The crack in the armor of the great architect. And once I've dealt with you, I'll have to decide what to do about her. Can't have witnesses after all. That's when Jin-Woo's careful control snaps. Because Kozlov just made a fatal mistake. He threatened Zara. And that's the one thing Jin-Woo can't allow. DJ, Jin-Woo says quietly into the microphone hidden in his collar. Now. The warehouse explodes into chaos. Windows shatter as Jin-Woo's crew breaches from multiple directions. Flashbangs go off, disorienting Kozlov's men. Gunfire erupts, deafening in the enclosed space. Jin-Woo moves, fast and purposeful. He's across the floor before Kozlov can react, tackling him away from Zara, sending his gun skittering across the concrete. The fight is brutal, vicious. These aren't men exchanging blows in a boxing ring. This is survival, raw and desperate. Kozlov is bigger, has weight and reach. But Jin-Woo has rage, has years of training, and most importantly has something to fight for. They crash through old equipment, trading blows that would drop most men. Jin-Woo feels ribs crack, tastes blood, doesn't care. All that matters is keeping Kozlov away from Zara, making sure she stays safe. Around them, DJ and the crew are systematically taking down Kozlov's men. They're outnumbered but better trained, more coordinated. This isn't their first warehouse raid. Jin-Woo gets Kozlov pinned, hands around his throat, and for a moment considers just squeezing until the life goes out of the man who threatened the woman he loves. But then he remembers Zara watching. Remembers who she is, what she stands for. Remembers that she already sees him as a monster, and killing a man in front of her will only confirm it. So instead, he leans close and whispers, "You leave Los Angeles. Tonight. You don't come back, you don't retaliate, you disappear completely. Because if I ever see you again, if you ever come near her or anyone I care about, I will forget every moral code I've tried to live by. I will become the monster you think I am. And I will make you beg for death before I'm done. Do you understand?" Kozlov, struggling to breathe, nods frantically. Jin-Woo releases him, stands, watches as DJ's men secure Kozlov and his crew. Then he turns to Zara. She's still in the chair, eyes wide, having just witnessed violence she's only read about in police reports. Jin-Woo approaches carefully, like she's a frightened animal that might bolt. "It's okay," he says softly, working at the ropes binding her wrists. "You're safe now. I've got you." The ropes fall away. Zara's hands are shaking, her whole body is shaking. Jin-Woo helps her stand, and the moment she's on her feet, her legs give out. He catches her, holds her as she breaks down, 15 minutes of terror finally overwhelming her careful control. "I've got you," he repeats, and his voice is gentle in a way the architect's voice never is. "You're safe. I promise you're safe." Zara clings to him, hating herself for it but unable to stop. Because despite everything, despite the lies and the betrayal and the fundamental impossibility of them being together, Jin-Woo just saved her life. Just walked into a trap knowing he'd probably die, just to give her a chance to survive. "You came," she whispers against his chest. "Of course I came. Did you really think I wouldn't? You could have died." "I know. Didn't matter. You mattered more." DJ approaches, tactfully clearing his throat. "Police are going to be here soon. We need to leave." Jin-Woo nods but doesn't let go of Zara. "Can you walk?" She nods, steps back, tries to pull herself together. I'm okay. But she's not okay. Not even close. And Jin-Woo can see it in her eyes, the trauma of what just happened, the terror that's still coursing through her system. "Come on," he says gently. "Let's get you out of here." He guides her out of the warehouse, past Kozlov's bound crew, past the evidence of violence, out into the cool Los Angeles night. His car is still where he left it. He helps Zara into the passenger seat, and she doesn't protest, doesn't insist on calling her own ride. She's too shaken to be proud. Jin-Woo drives through the city in silence. Zara stares out the window, processing what just happened, what it means. Jin-Woo risked everything to save her. Brought his whole crew into a dangerous situation because she was in danger. Fought a man twice his size because that man threatened her. Actions, her father always said, matter more than words. And Jin-Woo's actions tonight spoke volumes. He pulls up outside her apartment building. Walks her inside, up to her floor, stands awkwardly in her doorway like he's not sure if he's allowed to cross the threshold. "Thank you," Zara says, and her voice cracks on the words. "For coming. For saving me. For... You don't have to thank me. This is my fault. Kozlov took you to get to me. You were in danger because of me. But you saved me. I put you in that position in the first place." They're both quiet, standing in her doorway, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on them. "Jin-Woo," Zara starts, then stops. Because what is there to say? Tonight doesn't change what he is. Doesn't change the fundamental problem of who they are and what they represent. "I should go. I know. But Zara? I need you to know something. I'm leaving." "Leaving?" "The organization. The life. All of it. I'm out." Zara stares at him. "You can't be serious." "I am. I've been thinking about it since you left. What you said about becoming part of the problem instead of the solution. You were right. I've spent 15 years telling myself I was making things better, but really I was just making myself wealthier and more powerful at the expense of my own soul." "Jin-Woo, let me finish. Please. I'm passing leadership to DJ. Transferring my assets, my connections, everything. He'll do it differently than I did, maybe better. But I can't be that person anymore. I don't want to be that person anymore." "Why? Why now?" "Because of you. Because you reminded me who I wanted to be before life broke me. Because I've spent 15 years in darkness and I finally remembered what light looks like. Zara's eyes are filling with tears. You can't do this for me. You can't change your entire life for someone who can't even be with you. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. For the memory of my father, who wanted better for me than this. For the boy I was who dreamed of protecting people, not exploiting them. You just reminded me that boy still exists somewhere inside the architect. What will you do? I don't know yet. Legitimate business, maybe. DJ knows some people in security consulting. People who need the kind of expertise I have without the criminal applications. I'll figure it out. The point is, I'll be building something clean. Something I can be proud of. That's incredibly brave. It's incredibly overdue. Jin-Woo reaches out, gently touches her face, wipes away a tear with his thumb. I don't expect this to change anything between us. I know you can't be with who I was. And I understand that. But I wanted you to know. You changed my life, Zara. Again. Just like you did when we were 17. You reminded me how to be human. He turns to leave and Zara watches him go. Watches the man she loves walk away for the second time in her life. But this time is different. This time he's walking away to become someone better. Someone who might, eventually, be someone she could be with. Jin-Woo, wait. He stops, turns back. Can I? Zara hesitates, then pushes forward. Can I see you again? Not now, not soon. But maybe when you've had time to build your new life? When things are less complicated. Are you sure? No. I'm not sure of anything right now except that you just saved my life and I still love you despite every reason I have not to. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's something worth exploring when the time is right. Jin-Woo's face transforms, hope breaking through the careful control. I'll wait. However long it takes. I've spent 15 years without you. I can wait a little longer if it means there's a chance. Okay. Okay. He smiles, really smiles, and for a moment Zara sees the boy she fell in love with in Seattle. Good night, Zara. Good night, Jin-Woo. He leaves. And Zara closes the door, slides down it to sit on the floor, and finally lets herself cry. Not from fear or trauma or anger, but from the overwhelming complexity of loving someone who's both your biggest mistake and your greatest hope. 6 months pass. Jin-Woo keeps his word. He leaves the organization, transfers everything to DJ, watches as the architect becomes a ghost, a legend that people whisper about but can't quite prove existed. He takes legitimate security consulting work, uses his knowledge of how criminals think to help businesses protect themselves, helps law enforcement understand criminal networks without directly implicating himself. Is strange at first, living in daylight instead of shadows. Having business meetings in coffee shops instead of backrooms. Making money legally, slowly building something he doesn't have to hide. But it's also liberating. He's sleeping better. Laughing more. Becoming, gradually, the person his father would have wanted him to be. Zara watches from a distance, getting updates from mutual connections, seeing evidence of his transformation. She's healing too, processing the trauma of the kidnapping, of the betrayal, of the impossible situation they found themselves in. She doesn't contact him, wants to give them both space to grow separately before they try again together. But she thinks about him. Constantly. Wonders if he's happy, if he regrets his decision, if he still thinks about her the way she thinks about him. And then one day, 6 months to the week since she last saw him, Zara gets a package at her office. Inside is a book. A first edition of Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson, one of her heroes. And tucked inside is a note in Jin-Woo's careful handwriting. I'm building something clean. Something real. Something that would make my father proud. If you want to see it, I'd love to show you. But only if you're ready. No pressure. No expectations. Just a chance to catch up as friends if that's all you want. As something more if you think there might be room for that. The choice is yours. It always has been. Jin-Woo. Zara holds the note, reads it 3 times, then picks up her phone. Hello. Jin-Woo answers on the second ring, and Zara can hear the hope and fear in his voice. Hi. It's me. Zara. He says her name like a prayer. How are you? I'm okay. Better. Healing. You. The same. Different but good different. I got your note. And the book. Thank you. You're welcome. I'd like to see what you've built. If the offer's still open. There's a pause and Zara can almost hear Jin-Woo's smile through the phone. It is. It absolutely is. Coffee? Tomorrow? The place in Silver Lake where we met before? I'll be there. They meet the next day and it's awkward at first. 6 months apart, so much trauma between them, so much uncertainty about what they are to each other now. But then they start talking, really talking, and the awkwardness fades. Jin-Woo tells her about his work, about using his knowledge to help instead of harm. About the clients he's helping, the businesses he's protecting. About waking up proud of what he does instead of ashamed. Zara tells him about her cases, about finally working through the trauma of the kidnapping with a therapist, about learning that the world is more complicated than she wanted to believe. About realizing that people can change, that redemption is possible, that love doesn't have to be simple to be real. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, Zara admits, stirring her coffee without drinking it. About the system being broken, about the ways justice fails. You were right. I've spent years fighting within a system that often protects the powerful and punishes the vulnerable. And maybe I've been too rigid in my thinking about right and wrong. You were right too, Jin-Woo counters. I was part of the problem. I justified terrible things by telling myself I had a code, that I was better than other criminals. But crime is crime regardless of how you dress it up. You made me see that. So where does that leave us? Jin-Woo reaches across the table, hesitates, then takes her hand. She doesn't pull away. I think it leaves us here. Two imperfect people who've hurt each other and been hurt by the world, trying to figure out if there's a path forward. I can't promise I'll never make mistakes. I can't erase my past or pretend those 15 years didn't happen. But I can promise that I'm trying every day to be better. To be someone worthy of you. You don't have to be worthy of me, Jin-Woo. You just have to be honest. That's all I've ever needed. Then here's my honesty, I love you. I've loved you since we were 17, and I'll love you until I die. But I also understand if that's not enough. If my past is too dark, if the gap between who you are and who I was is too wide to bridge, I'll accept whatever you decide. Zara squeezes his hand, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers, the calluses that speak of a life lived in ways she'll never fully understand. I love you too, she says quietly. And I'm terrified of it. Terrified of getting hurt again, of discovering more lies, of building something that can't survive in the real world. But I'm also tired of being afraid. Tired of protecting myself so carefully that I never let anyone in. So what do? We try. Slowly. Carefully. With complete honesty this time. No more secrets, no more half-truths. If we're going to do this, we do it with everything on the table. I can do that. I want to do that. They sit there, hands linked across the table, two people who've traveled through darkness in different ways, who've hurt each other and saved each other, who are choosing, despite every logical reason not to try again. It's not a fairy tale ending. There's no dramatic music swell, no certainty that everything will work out. But there's something better, hope. Real, fragile, hard-won hope that maybe love can survive complexity, that maybe people can change, that maybe second chances are worth taking even when they're terrifying. Over the next few months they rebuild. Slowly. Jin-Woo introduces Zara to his new business, shows her the legitimate work he's doing. She meets his small team, sees the consulting contracts, the grateful clients whose businesses he's protected through legal means. Zara introduces Jin-Woo back into her world, more carefully this time. Dinners with Imani, who's cautiously supportive. Sunday meals with her father, who watches Jin-Woo like a hawk but can't deny the change in him. Robert Bennett, retired detective, runs background checks that come back clean. Watches Jin-Woo interact with his daughter with genuine respect and care. Sees the way Jin-Woo defers to Zara's expertise, supports her work, asks intelligent questions about her cases without trying to influence them. He's different, Robert admits to Zara one evening after Jin-Woo has left. I don't know what happened in those 6 months, but he's not the same man I met before. He's becoming who he was always meant to be, Zara says. Before life broke him. You really love him, don't you? I do. Is that crazy? Robert considers, then shakes his head. No. It's human. We all want to believe people can change, can be redeemed. And maybe some people actually can. Just keep your eyes open, honey. People can change back too. But Jin-Woo doesn't change back. If anything, he moves further from who he was. He starts volunteering, using his business expertise to help nonprofits improve their security. He becomes a consultant for Zara's office, helping them understand how criminal organizations think so they can build better cases. It's strange working together in this way. Jin-Woo providing insight into the world he left behind to help Zara dismantle others like it. But it feels right. Feels like he's finally using his knowledge for good, making amends for the years he spent on the wrong side. They go on actual dates. Movies and museums and long walks through the city. They talk about everything. Their fears, their dreams, their separate journeys through darkness. Jin-Woo tells her about the specific things he did as the architect, not sparing himself, wanting her to know exactly who she's choosing. Zara shares her own struggles, the cases she lost, the people she couldn't save, the weight of trying to fix a broken system one case at a time. And slowly trust rebuilds. Not the innocent trust of 17-year-olds in love, but something harder, more resilient. The trust of adults who've seen the worst of each other and the world and are choosing connection anyway. 5 months after they reconnect, Jin-Woo takes Zara to a rooftop downtown. Not the same one where they first kissed, but similar. The city spreads out below them, millions of lights, millions of stories, millions of people navigating their own complicated paths through life. "I want to show you something," Jin-Woo says, pulling out his phone. He shows her a business plan, detailed and comprehensive. "I'm expanding the consulting firm. But I want to focus specifically on helping businesses in vulnerable communities protect themselves from criminal exploitation. Places like my father's store, small businesses that can't afford high-end security but need protection." Zara reads through the plan, sees the financial projections, the community partnerships, the vision of using his dark expertise for genuine good. "This is incredible," she says. "Jin-Woo, this could actually make a real difference." "That's the idea. I can't undo the past 15 years. Can't bring back the time I wasted, the damage I caused, even indirectly. But I can try to prevent others from walking the path I walked. I can protect people the way I always wanted to but never actually did." "Your father would be so proud." Jin-Woo's eyes get bright. "You think so?" "I know so. He wanted you to protect people, right? That's exactly what you're doing now." They stand there, looking at the city, at the future Jin-Woo's building, at the impossible fact that they're here together despite everything that tried to tear them apart. "Zara," Jin-Woo says quietly, "I know we're taking this slow. I know we're still rebuilding trust. But I need you to know something. You saved me. When I saw you in that restaurant 11 months ago, I was empty. I had everything material and nothing meaningful. And you reminded me what it felt like to be alive, to care about something beyond power and money." "You saved me too," Zara responds. "I was so focused on work, on fighting battles, that I forgot how to be vulnerable. How to let someone in. You reminded me that life is more than cases won and corruption exposed. That love, messy and complicated as it is, matters more than being right. Where do we go from here? Forward. Together. One day at a time, figuring it out as we go." Jin-Woo pulls her close and she leans into him, feeling safe in a way she hasn't felt in years. Not the safety of control or predictability, but the safety of being with someone who sees all of you, the good, the bad, the broken parts, and chooses you anyway. They kiss, and it's different from their first kiss on that other rooftop. That one was desperate, charged with years of longing and uncertainty. This one is softer, steadier, built on honesty and hard-won understanding. When they break apart, Zara laughs. "This is insane. We're insane. Probably. Is that okay?" "Yeah. It's actually perfect." They stay on that rooftop for hours, talking and planning and dreaming. About the business Jin-Woo's building. About the cases Zara's fighting. About a future they're constructing together, brick by careful brick, foundation solid this time because it's built on truth. It's not easy. There are hard days when Zara's father makes a pointed comment about Jin-Woo's past. When one of Zara's colleagues recognizes Jin-Woo's name from old investigations and asks uncomfortable questions. When Jin-Woo runs into someone from his old life and has to navigate that interaction while Zara watches. But they work through it. With honesty, with patience, with the kind of commitment that comes from almost losing each other twice and refusing to let it happen again. DJ checks in periodically, making sure Jin-Woo's really out, really clean. He runs the organization differently now, more careful, more focused on financial crimes and less on anything that could hurt people. He respects what Jin-Woo built but isn't bound by it. "You seem happy," DJ observes one day when he and Jin-Woo meet for coffee. "It's been almost a year since Jin-Woo left." "I am. Happier than I've been since I was 17. "No regrets? About leaving?" "None. Well, maybe one. I regret that I didn't leave sooner. That I wasted 15 years building something that ultimately meant nothing." "It meant something. It kept you alive. It gave you skills and knowledge you're using now for good. Maybe it was all preparation for this." Jin-Woo considers that. "Maybe. I'd like to think the universe is that organized, that there was a plan all along. But I think the truth is messier. I made bad choices for understandable reasons and now I'm trying to make better choices. That's all any of us can do." "She's good for you, Zara. She's made you soft but in a good way. Human again. She's everything. I don't know what I'd do if I lost her again." "Then don't lose her. Keep being honest. Keep building something real. Keep being the person she fell in love with. That's the plan. 1 year after their reunion in that restaurant, Jin-Woo and Zara are at a community center in Koreatown. Jin-Woo's new business is sponsoring a small business security workshop, teaching store owners how to protect themselves without expensive systems. Zara's there to provide legal resources, information about their rights, how to report crimes effectively. They work the room together, a team. Jin-Woo explains security measures in Korean and English, patient with questions, genuinely invested in helping. Zara distributes information packets, makes connections, builds relationships. An elderly Korean woman approaches Jin-Woo, speaks to him in rapid Korean. He responds and Zara watches the exchange with a smile. She's been learning Korean, slowly wanting to understand this part of Jin-Woo's heritage and life. After the event, as they're packing up, the woman approaches again, this time with something in her hands. A small bag of homemade food. She says you remind her of her son. Jin-Woo translates, his voice thick with emotion. Says it's good to see young people helping their community instead of harming it. She wanted to thank us. Zara takes the bag, thanks the woman in halting Korean she's been practicing. The woman beams, pats both their cheeks, says something else. What did she say? Zara asks as they walk to the car. She said we make a good couple. That we'll have beautiful children who do good work in the world. Zara stops walking. Children. We haven't even talked about. I mean, we're still. I know we're taking things slow. But Zara? I want that. Eventually. A future with you. Marriage, kids, the whole domestic dream I never thought I'd have. But only if you want it too. Only if you're ready. Zara looks at him, this man who's traveled so far from where he started, who's fought his way out of darkness to stand in the light. Who's building something beautiful from the ruins of a life that could have destroyed him. I want it too, she says. Not now, not yet. But someday. Yes. Jin-Woo's smile could light the entire city. He pulls her close, kisses her forehead. Someday is enough. Someday is perfect. They drive home through Los Angeles, through the city that's been the backdrop to both their worst moments and their best. The city where Jin-Woo built an empire and then walked away from it. The city where Zara fights for justice every day. The city where they found each other twice and refused to let go the second time. If you've been following this story from the beginning, hit that subscribe button right now because stories like this, stories about redemption, about love surviving impossible odds, about people choosing to be better, are what we're all about here. Here's my question for you. Do you believe people can truly change? That someone can walk away from a dark past and build something good? Or are we all forever defined by our worst choices? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. 6 months later, Jin-Woo's business is thriving. He's hired 3 more consultants, all former law enforcement who understand both sides of the criminal justice system. They're working with dozens of small businesses across Los Angeles, making communities safer without criminalizing poverty or difference. Zara's been promoted at her firm, is heading up a new initiative focused on systemic reform rather than individual cases. She's fighting the bigger battles now, working to change policies and structures rather than just winning one case at a time. They're building parallel careers that occasionally intersect, both focused on the same ultimate goal, making the world a little safer, a little more just, a little more humane. They move in together to a place that's neither his old penthouse nor her small apartment but something new that belongs to both of them. They negotiate space and compromise and the small conflicts that come with sharing life with another person. Robert visits, checks the locks and the security system, nods approvingly. Imani brings housewarming gifts and teases them about their matching coffee mugs. DJ stops by once, checks that Jin-Woo's really happy, really settled, really done with the old life. You did it, DJ says quietly before he leaves. You actually walked away and built something better. We did it, Jin-Woo corrects. You're running things the right way now. We're all building something better. It's a Wednesday evening 18 months after that first reunion, when Jin-Woo comes home to find Zara on the couch, crying. What happened? He's immediately at her side, checking for injuries, for danger, his old protective instincts flaring. Nothing bad, Zara says through tears. Something good. Really good. She hands him a letter. It's from the California Bar Association. They're giving Zara an award for her work on criminal justice reform. Recognition for years of fighting, of winning battles no one thought could be won, of changing lives and systems and the very definition of what justice means. Zara, this is incredible. This is everything you've worked for. Read the rest. Jin-Woo keeps reading. The award ceremony is in 3 months. There will be a dinner, speeches, recognition. And winners are invited to bring a guest, someone who's supported their work, who represents the values they're fighting for. Will you come with me? Zara asks. As my date, my partner, the person who reminds me every day why this work matters? Are you sure? It'll be public. People will see us together, will know we're involved. Your colleagues, your professional community. I'm sure. I'm done hiding you. Done pretending that my personal life and professional life exist in separate boxes. You're part of my story now, Jin-Woo. The part where I learned that redemption is real, that people are complicated, that love can survive in the spaces between black and white. Jin-Woo kisses her, deep and meaningful and full of promise. I'd be honored. Truly honored. The award ceremony is elegant and overwhelming. Zara in a stunning dress, Jin-Woo in a tuxedo that makes him look like he stepped out of a magazine. They enter together, hand in hand, and Zara introduces Jin-Woo to her colleagues without hesitation. This is Jin-Woo Park, my partner. He runs a community security consulting firm. He's one of the reasons I keep fighting. Some people are curious, ask questions about his work. Some are politely distant, perhaps remembering rumors of his past. But Zara doesn't waver, doesn't apologize, doesn't hide. She's made her choice and she's standing by it. When Zara gives her acceptance speech, she talks about justice and reform and the importance of believing in second chances. And when she mentions Jin-Woo by name, thanks him for showing her that people can change, that paths aren't fixed, that love can be the catalyst for transformation, the room erupts in applause. Jin-Woo, sitting in the audience, feels something he hasn't felt in 20 years, pride. Not the hollow pride of criminal success or accumulated wealth, but real pride in being acknowledged publicly as someone who matters to someone extraordinary. As someone worthy of love and recognition and a place in the light. After the ceremony, they go back to their apartment. Zara kicks off her heels, Jin-Woo loosens his tie, and they collapse on the couch together, exhausted and exhilarated. You were amazing tonight, Jin-Woo says, pulling her close. We were amazing. This is our victory, Jin-Woo. Everything I've accomplished, you've been part of. Supporting me, challenging me, reminding me why the work matters. I still can't believe you thanked me publicly. Weren't you worried about what people would think? I stopped worrying about what people think when I realized that your past doesn't define our future. That who you are now matters more than who you were. And anyone who can't see that isn't someone whose opinion I value. Jin-Woo is quiet for a moment, then reaches into his pocket. Pulls out a small box. Zara's breath catches. Jin-Woo. I know we said we'd take things slow. I know we're still building trust, still figuring things out. But Zara, I've loved you for over half my life. I lost you once because I wasn't brave enough to be honest. I found you again and almost lost you because I was still lying. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want slow. I want you for the rest of my life, building something real together. He opens the box. Inside is a ring, simple and elegant, a single diamond that catches the light. Marry me. Not because it's logical or easy or makes sense to anyone else. Marry me because you love me and I love you and we've proven that we can survive anything as long as we're honest with each other. Zara is crying again, happy tears this time. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Jin-Woo slides the ring onto her finger, and it fits perfectly, like everything about them that seems wrong on paper but feels absolutely right in practice. They kiss and it's a promise. Not of perfection, not of an easy future, but of commitment. Of choosing each other every day despite the complications. Of building a life together that honors both of them. Zara's commitment to justice and Jin-Woo's commitment to redemption. I love you, Zara whispers. Even when I was furious with you, even when I couldn't be with you, I never stopped loving you. I love you too. I always have. I always will. They sit there, wrapped in each other, looking at the ring on Zara's finger, at the symbol of a future they're building together. And for the first time in their lives, both of them feel complete. Not because they've found someone who makes them whole, they were always whole, but because they've found someone who sees them completely and loves them anyway. Sometimes the people we love travel through darkness to find their way back to the light. Sometimes that journey takes years, requires sacrifice, demands that we become better than we ever thought we could be. Jin-Woo walked through 15 years of darkness, built an empire he had to abandon, became someone he hated, all to find his way back to the boy who just wanted to protect people. To the man who could stand beside Zara Bennett and be proud of the life they're building. And sometimes, love is worth the second chance we never thought we'd get. Worth the risk of being hurt again. Worth the complexity and the complications and the hard conversations. Because real love, the kind that survives betrayal and distance and fundamental differences, is the kind worth fighting for. Zara and Jin-Woo's story isn't a fairy tale. It's messier than that, more complicated, more human. but it's real. And that makes it more beautiful than any perfect story could ever be. Because true love isn't about where you've been. It's not about the mistakes you made or the darkness you walked through or the person you were when life was breaking you. True love is about where you're going. About the person you're choosing to become. About finding someone who sees your past, understands your present, and still wants to build a future with you. Jin-Woo and Zara, the Korean boy who became a crime boss who became a security consultant, and the black attorney who fights for justice in a broken system, are proof that redemption is possible. That change is real. That love can survive anything as long as it's built on honesty and choice and the daily decision to see each other, truly see each other, and love what you find. They're getting married in 6 months. It'll be a small ceremony, just close friends and family. Robert will walk Zara down the aisle, still slightly suspicious of Jin-Woo but unable to deny that his daughter is happy. Imani will be maid of honor, teasing them both about how she always knew they'd end up together. DJ will stand as Jin-Woo's best man, proud of his friend for finding a way out of the darkness. And Zara and Jin-Woo will stand before everyone they love and promise to continue choosing each other, continue building something good, continue proving that the best stories aren't about perfect people finding perfect love. They're about complicated people doing the hard work of loving each other honestly, completely, and permanently. That's their story. The Korean Mafia boss who walked away from everything to become someone worthy of love. The civil rights attorney who learned that justice sometimes looks different than she expected. Two people who found each other in high school, lost each other to life and violence and impossible circumstances, and found each other again when they both needed saving. They're building a future together now. One honest conversation at a time. One shared dream at a time. One choice to love each other, every single day regardless of what the world thinks or the obstacles they face. And that, ultimately, is what love really is. Not a destination but a choice. A daily, difficult, beautiful choice to see someone completely and love them anyway. To build something together that's stronger than what either of you could build alone. Jin-Woo and Zara chose each other. Despite everything. Because of everything. And they're going to spend the rest of their lives proving that love built on truth and forgiveness and genuine transformation is the strongest kind of love there is. Because true love isn't about where you've been. It's about choosing where you're going. Together.